Have our emergency meeting this morning. So without further ado, Barry.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you're aware, Tropical Storm is currently off the coast and heading kind of our way north. The concern with this storm, obviously, is the potential for storm surge. However, being only 80 miles off the coast, what we saw last year down in Lee County is the potential for this to be a very dangerous storm, up to a Category 3. It is unpredictable, and so right now we're preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. I would ask Kathy Perkins, our Director of Emergency Management, to kind of give you a situational awareness and walk through some of the modeling that has been occurring.
As Barry said, the concern with this storm is it has been continuing to trend further east over the last couple of days. Our storm surge approximations right now from the National Hurricane Center are 4 to 7 feet. If you remember a few years ago with Eta, we had significant flooding on our barrier islands. So this is going to be very similar, if not greater than that. As Barry mentioned, the concern is that this storm is expected to be a Category 3 storm only 80 miles off of our coast. As we saw with Hurricane Ian last year, there was a 20-mile shift as the storm came off of Cuba that made the difference between us and Lee County getting this storm. So we all have to remain very vigilant at this point. Pinellas County is currently under a hurricane watch and a storm surge watch, as well as much of the west coast of Florida. We are expecting tropical storm force winds to start arriving in our county at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, with a departure of Wednesday at 9 a.m. So luckily this is a fast-moving, short-duration storm. But we have seen that our wind probabilities have increased tremendously over the last few days. We're at a 96% probability for tropical storm force winds, 72% for strong tropical storm force winds, and 25% for those hurricane force winds. And again, if this storm continues to trend more, we're going to see this go up, and we'll be feeling those winds here in our county. So our concern is, and what we've been working on, is looking at where are those areas that could potentially flood. Again, from Eta, we know that our barrier islands, we saw hundreds of homes that had at least some water intrusion inside of them during that storm. And keep in mind that these surge models do not include rainfall. Right now, the prediction for rainfall is 6 to 10 inches in our county, and it doesn't include wave action on top. So as the storm starts to move in, and with our high tides, we always want to be very cognizant that there are areas here. You can see from these maps, the areas that are blue, we expect them as of now to have up to 3 feet of storm surge, and the areas in yellow, 3 to 6 feet. And again, any wave action on top of that will impact them. And this map doesn't go all the way down, but we need to be thinking about St. Pete Beach and down in the Don Cesar neighborhoods. If you live in a neighborhood where there's sunny day flooding on your streets when we have those high tides, you need to be thinking that you are going to have some flooding in your homes. It's a time for people should be looking at elevating items and their valuables in their home, turning off their power and gas, unplug major appliances, and make sure that they've got their insurance information, and if they have a restoration company in mind to help them, that they've got that lined up today. They can start looking at all that information. Again, we also have other areas in our county that we're concerned about, our shore acres in Riviera Bay. Also concerned about our low-lying areas in Gulf Part, and again, you can see the yellow areas up to 3 to 6 feet of storm surge predicted at this time. And this can change very easily with every advisory that comes out. We are waiting now on the 11 o'clock advisory to come out this morning. Also our areas in Safety Harbor, and then Oldsmar. We do anticipate some water getting pushed up through the intercoastal and into Tampa Bay. And once that water gets pushed up in there, it's going to seek the least resistance and move up into land and get pushed up into waterways. I want to assure the public that if we do have to call an evacuation, we have been working with our partners diligently over the last few days. If we do have to open shelters, I want to remind people that we do have pet-friendly general population and special needs shelters that we will make available. I want to encourage people that if you are on our special needs registry, if we do call for evacuations, we will notify you if you are already registered. If you're not registered and you don't have family or friends to help you, I would encourage you to make sure that you have a plan. You can call our County Information Center line at 727-464-4333. And we especially want to make sure that people that are on life-sustaining medical equipment have a plan for backup electricity in case the power does go out. I want to assure people that transportation will run free if we call for evacuation. So I don't want that to be a factor for why people don't evacuate. PSTA will run their buses. They will take people to the shelters that are open. I also want to assure people that we have pet-friendly shelters, and these are some of the things that we heard why people did not evacuate during Hurricane Ian. Again, you can take your pet on PSTA, and you want to make sure that you've got your pet supplies. I would encourage people to go to our website at disaster.pinellas.gov. You can download our information for our hurricane preparedness guide. It's got all the tips in here. It's got the information for what you need to put inside of your hurricane kit. Under the governor's executive order, you can get refills on your prescriptions for up to 30 days. So I just want to assure everybody that we have been in contact with the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and we're having these conversations. We're looking at bringing in additional resources and gearing up if this storm continues to come towards us.
Yeah, on those maps that you're showing, do you have anything that shows the Clearwater Beach area to Tarpon Springs?
We'll make sure that we make that available.
Okay.
So that way everybody can then check out their neighborhoods and see where that flooding is. Right now, the probabilistic surge data is put on the National Hurricane Center. They update those graphics. So every time a new advisory comes out, they do update that storm surge data. We've been watching the trend. So our storm surge was a little bit lower yesterday. It inched up a little bit. My concern is if you look at the area where they think the landfall is now, they're talking about 7 to 11 feet of storm surge. So, we're watching this very cautiously because if that does continue to shift our way, we could see that storm surge increase. And that's why we're positioning ourselves. So if we have to call these evacuation orders and have those shelters ready, we've got all that online.
Yes, Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you so very much for the update on the information, and the maps, I think, give us a clearer picture. But how are we positioned should the storm make that immediate turn? We saw that happen a little farther south to us, and so it didn't really allow for those communities to be as prepared as they would have been. And I know we can't, tell what's going to happen, but we certainly could see the storm shift a little bit more, which would give us less time in preparation. So I don't know if you or Barry want to maybe speak to that about.
Yeah, I know Barry's going to be talking with the city managers. We've been talking with the department directors. We've been having response operations coordination calls to let people know that they need to be thinking that this storm was more than just, we look at it now and we say, oh, it's, and some people will say only a tropical storm. Remember, tropical storms can drop a lot of rain. They can cause some storm surge. So, but what we know is that they're forecasting for this storm to become a Cat 3. So thank you, Commissioner, because that is a concern for us. And that's why we want to be ready and positioned. People should be paying attention. So they can sign up for Alert Pinellas, and we'll send alerts right to their phone, let them know if we're calling evacuation orders. We've been sending out notifications. You can also put the Ready Pinellas app on your phone. We do push notifications to there. There's a lot of great information in there on how people can prepare. We're telling people now is the time to get set. They need to be making sure that they're finalizing everything in their kit. We need to make sure that people know what zone they're in. So if we call those evacuations, they're ready to go. And again, they can find their zone information by going to disaster.pinellas.gov.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're also supposed to have a super high tide, I believe. When is that coming in, and is that already factored into this 7 to 11 feet?
So right now, that blue moon, that higher tide is supposed to occur around 9:30 PM on Wednesday night. So what's working in our favor right now is the timing of the winds and when we think that surge is coming in, which would be starting Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. We are in the lower tide cycle. If it gets shifted back a little bit further, we could have see some issues with higher tides Wednesday morning with that coinciding. The good news for us is that we have been really dry. So if we're getting rain, we think it will drain out pretty quick. The problem will be is that higher tide, and then if the water can't drain out into the bay. So right now, we're feeling a lot better about it, but
Good.
the timing for everything is really critical.
Okay, thanks.
Did you have something, Sheriff? Commissioner Rutherford?
Just real quickly, first of all, Kathy, thank you for you and your team and all the work you're doing. I know this is nerve-wracking time for you guys. We appreciate all that you do. I did get a couple texts just now that said that our coverage of this was a little problematic at the beginning. Apparently, it's now back on and it's showing. Could you maybe just summarize briefly, not going through the whole thing, just kind of where we're at for folks who may not have heard that,
Yeah, I'll put the
that
graphic,
initial?
I'll put the graphic back up too. So this storm is still coming off, it's still below Cuba. We do expect it to intensify and become a Category 3. The concern is the language in the National Hurricane Center discussion about rapid intensification, just like we saw with Michael, just like we saw with Ian. We're under a hurricane watch and a storm surge watch. Right now, the anticipated arrival of tropical storm force winds in our area is Tuesday at 7 p.m. through Wednesday 9 a.m. But we need people to remain vigilant. This storm has been trending further to the east over the last few advisories. We're also keeping an eye on that storm surge level. So again, if people were here for Eta and they had flooding in their homes for Eta, we expect this to be very similar. If the storm surge levels go higher than they currently are, which is 4 to 7 feet, we'll be looking at more protective measures for folks.
Commissioner Mathau, you have anything? Barry?
So Commissioners, what we're asking for is to declare a local state of emergency. What this does is it provides the sheriff as a single law enforcement officer and me as a county administrator the ability to take protective measures, waive purchasing requirements, and do the things we need to do to prepare for what is, likely to occur.
Has everyone had an opportunity to read the document yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we need a roll call vote, Madam Chair? Secretary, or a voice vote? All those in favor? Aye.
So Commissioners, what we're doing now is we're preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. We have an 11:15 call with the state. Once we see the conditions and track the storm, so we're not calling for any specific actions now. We're going to continue to monitor the situation and take protective measures as necessary. The key is we're trying to wait because we don't want to, take measures and then nothing will occur. But when we do take that time, when we make that call, we need people to heed that warning because that's the time then when we really have to begin to move. It takes us 17 hours to do the clearance necessary for a level A evacuation. That's daylight hours. And so as you can see, Tuesday at 7 becomes pretty quick upon us if we in fact have to take that action. So again, staff's in place. We're in communication with the schools. We have an executive policy team, which is all of our executive leadership at noon today, following the 11:15 call, and I'll continue to keep you updated as the situation dictates.
Yes, real quick.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, Barry, on the schools, evacuation, schools, and shelters, what's that, just briefly again, if I just...
Well, right now, we're preparing for 2 school shelters, and those are with special needs and things like that, the pet-friendly shelters. We're coordinating that right now. It wouldn't occur until after school today, but the question on whether schools close will be dependent upon whether or not we're going to increase the sheltering plan. And again, that would follow for a level A evacuation. So we're not prepared to make that call. We will be in coordination with them later today and make that call at that time.
So to clarify, the schools will make the decision in collaboration with the schools about whether or not to close them starting tomorrow?
Correct. So our executive policy team, which includes the superintendent of schools, sheriff, and others, that we coordinate on that decision-making, and we have a call here at noon today.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, commissioners, for the good of the order? No? We're ready to adjourn then? Sheriff, you have nothing? Okay. All right, everybody, then we are adjourned. Thank you so much
Thank you, Commissioners.
for being here.